talking to Mr. Jeremy Reeves, who is the founder of Scale Advisors. And you guys are going to learn a ton today all about the 5 levers that you need to dial in order to scale your business. Let's dive into this episode of The Happy Hustle.
You want blissful balance in your personal and professional life? Great. What's up, guys? My name is Kerry Jack, and I want to help you happy hustle a life you love, one full of passion, purpose, and positive impact. I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur, a professional model / actor, a digital marketing specialist, a podcast host, author, a biohacker, an eco warrior, a martial artist, a hippie cowboy, and a humanitarian. My goal is to educate, inspire, and entertain you to live a life of passion, purpose, and positive impact. It is time to happy hustle your dream reality.
All right, Jeremy Reeves, my brother, welcome to the Happy Hustle podcast. I am super stoked to rock the mic with you, man.
I'm probably more stoked to be here.
Love it, man. Well, you are the founder of Scale Advisors. You have generated over $200 million in revenue for yourself and your clients, and you have built and sold multi-million-dollar companies. You served as the CEO of an 8-figure portfolio with over 100 plus employees across 7 different businesses, and you have created at least 5 different 8-figure offers, among many other wins over your career. Now you help high-integrity entrepreneurs engineer scalable profit models without the chaos or complexity that is killing most businesses today. But more importantly, you're a happy hustler, man. You're a husband of, you said, 16 years, and you've been with your wife for 21 years, a father of 3, and I'm really stoked again to just dive into all of your internet marketing wisdom and extract it for our happy hustling audience. But before we get into all that good stuff, Jeremy, what is something interesting about yourself that not too many people know?
Yeah, so I'm a weird dude, for sure. There are, and this is confirmed by multiple personality tests and all sorts of different things. I tend to break all those models, for some reason. I have a very unique brain, apparently. But yeah, so I would say the something that most people don't know is that I am way, way, way more spiritual than most people realize. So not a religious guy, but when it comes to spirituality, like very, very deep into it. I've had all sorts of crazy experiences, especially like meditating, have experiences of like complete oneness where I've lost complete sense of my body, was no longer a human, like all sorts of weird stuff like that. I've been to the Amazon jungle to do ayahuasca. Like it's I've gone very deep down that rabbit hole.
Nice.
And now I'm in this phase now where I'm really digging into like quantum physics and quantum mechanics and like learning about just the whole quantum world is just absolutely fascinating to me. In fact, I was reading this morning about how they're essentially talking about time, and I'm not an expert in all this, so I may get this a little bit wrong, but essentially talking about how time works, and they've now basically confirmed that like when you put your awareness on something, it can actually change past events, right? Which is it just like almost breaks your mind thinking about that stuff. So so I'm a fanatic about just learning why we're here and who we are, and all the weird crazy stuff that goes along with that.
I love it, man. I got a little crystal here on my desk
Nice.
that my wife gave me, and I'm very
just like
spiritual.
that.
Oh, you got one too? Nice, dude. Look at that. Cheers on our crystals. If you're watching YouTube, it's going down here. My friend just said you can charge your crystal. I didn't know that was a thing, but you like
Yep.
charge it in the moon apparently or
Yep.
something.
It's sunlight.
But
Yeah.
oh, sunlight, yeah. And yeah, I totally resonate. Like I'm very spiritual, not religious. I believe in a higher power. I believe that faith plays a massive role in my life. I pray every day to God, but I just have been, I've learned many religions, but not necessarily became
Right.
a practitioner. So yeah, very cool stuff, man. I love that. And I think it's important as happy hustlers that we have, again, that mindful spirituality. That's one of our 10 alignments of being a happy hustler. So love that. But today, for the purpose of this podcast, we are talking about scaling your business, and I know faith plays a part, But I mean, dude, you generated nearly 200 mil in revenue for you and your clients, but you hate the word revenue. So break down first and foremost why entrepreneurs should ditch that word completely.
Yeah. So it really comes down to your focus, right? Anytime you go to any mastermind, it's all like, I made 10 million last year. I made 5 million last year. I made 50 million last year, all that stuff. Um, but then if you start digging in, you're like, oh, well, how much did you net? Then it's like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, someone call my name over there. It's like,
Yeah.
there are a lot of people, way, like I know a lot of 8-figure business owners, and like high seven, like most of my friends are in the like kind of mid
Mhm.
sevens to higher eights. And, I have a lot of people that I know in that range. And it's crazy when you really start talking to people, like how, the actual income that's coming in. It's like, oh yeah, we grew 30% last year, but I'm somehow making less than I did, 2 years ago. Like, even though our
Yeah.
our revenue is so much more. And it really just comes down to like, everyone's got this obsession with revenue. And it's like,
Mhm.
revenue does not matter. I would so
Mm-mm.
much rather own a $2 million business that nets a million versus a $10 million business that nets a million. You're right, because there's so much more
Oh,
complexity
yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. Like for me, and I'm sure for your audience, they would probably all, or at least most people on here would align with that.
Mm.
For me, it's just how do you maximize revenue with the minimum, pain in the ass possible. Uh,
Yeah.
so like that's all I've always been about like this lifestyle. I'm a family man. I have me and my wife do stuff all the time together. In fact, we're actually probably going out this Friday afternoon. We were just talking about that this morning. And and I've had kids. Like my kids are 8 to 14, so I'm like right in the thick of it. And it's
Mhm.
it's just always it's always meant more to me to be here for the family, to be present mentally. And I just don't. My brain doesn't like a bazillion things. I At least it doesn't now. Like earlier in my career, I mean, the most, squirrel brained entrepreneur that you could possibly imagine. I've been told by astrologers that I'm a Pisces. So I guess that's like a very common thing, is just, very scattered and all that.
Mm.
So I've trained my brain over the years to be more focused, and meditation helps so much with that.
Mm.
And Yeah, so it really just comes down to like focus. It's like, instead of focusing on the revenue, focus on profit. How do I increase
Yeah.
profit? And it
Mhm.
gets you to answer so much faster. And at the end of the day, that's what we all want anyway. But for
Oh,
some
yeah.
reason, even though we want this, we're focusing over here. And it's kind of like, if we're for some reason throwing the hatchets just came into my brain, so we'll go with that one. So it's like, it's kind
Yeah.
of like, you're at the range, you got a beer in one hand, you got the hatchet in the other, and you're throwing them, trying to hit the bullseye, right? But instead of looking at your bullseye, you're looking at the guys over here, but you're throwing here, right? Like it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense, but we do it every single day in business. And it's like,
Right.
why? It makes no sense.
Yeah.
So I've just found, when you stop caring about the revenue line, the vanity metric that makes people impressed, stop worrying about that, and only just look at like, okay, profit. How does profit come in? Like, I mean, for me, I like to understand the flow of business, or I'm sorry, the flow of money through the business, right? So it's like, you need to know the revenue, right? But
Mhm.
that's not the goal. The revenue isn't the goal. That's the big like mental switch. Um, you have to understand when business comes, or Jesus, I did it again. When revenue comes into your business, right? You have to understand where it leaks out, right? Because
Mhm.
like, it's kind of like a conveyor belt with holes in it almost, and
Mm.
then like your little pot of gold is at the end. Whatever gets past the
Mhm.
holes is your profit. If you start focusing on the holes and plugging the holes by figuring out like whatever's constraining, that piece that's making the money fall through the hole, essentially. That's
Mhm.
It's such a faster way to get to where you want to go, which is the profit, right?
Yeah.
And generally too, when you do that, it generally simplifies the entire business as well, because you're only focused on like the big needle movers and not
Yeah.
everything, right? Like when I work with clients, it's one of the last things I always look at the marketing. The marketing is obviously an important thing. I've generated hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm a marketing guy. Like that's, I get my first 10 years in business. I was a direct response copywriter, doing all that stuff. I'm a marketing sales funnel guy. I was doing sales funnels back in like 2000. 10 before the word funnels was even a word,
Mm, yeah.
and so I am like a marketing guy through and through. But as I've built businesses, as I've been behind the scenes, it's kind of like the old infomercials, like, but wait, there's a better way, or there's
Yeah.
got to be a better way, right? And it's like I just kept hitting the same wall so many times that I realized, hey, why are we like focusing over here when we want this, but we're not putting attention on this,
Right.
and I'm sure
Oh,
we'll
yeah.
get into like, the more specifics on how to do that as we talk, but that's for that specific question. It's really just don't focus on it because it's a waste of time, honestly. Is
Yeah.
this short and quick answer.
Yeah. They say revenue is for vanity, profit is for sanity.
Right,
And I
exactly,
believe
yeah.
most people do get caught up with the top line,
Mhm.
and not enough entrepreneurs and business owners are really honing in and focusing, to your point, on the net profit and what do you actually take home and keep.
Right.
Now, there's a lot here to unpack, but I know you specifically talk about the 5 economic levers that
Mhm.
control every dollar in a business. Can you give us a one-on-one crash course on how the happy hustlers can pull the right ones?
Yep. Yeah, so, notice the word revenue will not be said throughout all this.
Okay, great.
Hopefully I don't say it. Yeah, so the first one, and none of these are in any particular order. Some of them tend to be bigger levers than other. It really depends on the business and where the constraints in the business are and that sort of thing. But in general, there's really no particular order. But so the first one is contribution margin. That
Mm,
is pretty much I'm going to say revenue. It's revenue minus your variable costs, right? So if you make $100,000 and your variable costs, which is pretty much anything tied to you selling that product, right? Um, if that is $50,000, you would have a contribution margin of 50,000, right? And
mm,
that is what goes to paying off your fixed expenses first. So, like, basically, if you make 100,000 in revenue, um, 50,000 of that, again, assuming the 50% contribution margin, 50,000 goes towards paying expenses. After those expenses are paid, that's when you profit, right? You make literally $0 until that point, and then you profit. And what's insane too, is and I've never talked to anybody who's like articulated this. I've never had a conversation with it. It hit me like probably about a year ago. And I was like, it just completely shattered my brain. So we'll go back to that scenario, right? You make $100,000, 50% contribution margin, and we'll just say 50,000 in fixed expenses for easy math, right? So that first 100,000, you make $0. The next dollar, you make 50 cents, and every single dollar above that, you make 50 cents. So you have a 50% margin once you break even, right? Which is
mhm,
like if you think about that, I know a lot of people that they push really hard, right, to get to like the break even point, and then they hit break even, and then they're like, oh, finally, like I'm not losing money anymore. It's like I can kind of lay off for a while, and it's like, no, like go harder, right? Because now you're making 50% margins on every dollar above that. Like assuming you don't add
right.
more fixed expenses, obviously, right? So anyway, so that's contribution margin, and that's a really big lever because it's it's almost like a little supercharger behind every dollar of revenue that comes in. Because if you have if you don't basically, if your contribution margin is bloated, and say it's 50, and your competitors are at 60% margin or 70% margin, they're making it's so much easier for them to make a profit and to be able to put that extra margin into more ad spend, or whatever they're doing. That's going to allow
Mm,
them to pay more for customers, which is they're going to outsell you, they're going to outmarket you, all the things, because for every single person that comes in, for every unit sale, they're making more money, right, on each individual
mhm,
sale that goes through the business, right? So that's contribution margin. um let's see, the second one we'll cover is, let's go to acquisition efficiency, right? So acquisition efficiency, most people are going to be familiar with that. It's basically just customer acquisition efficiency, how efficient you are at getting customers, right? um
mhm,
big mistake a lot of people here is it's always, I want to lower my CPA. I want to lower my CPA. That's like, or cost to acquire customers. It's all kind of the same thing. It's just different terminology.
Yeah.
Um, I found that you generally you should do that because you're being efficient. You know, if you drive up conversions, it'll lower your cost to acquire the customer. You know, that sort of thing, and
Mm.
it's a good thing, but it's also important to factor in the quality of those customers because different channels, different messaging, different offers, they all attract different people, and those
Right.
people are coming in right with their own conditioned beliefs. Like it's just a different person, right? Just think of if you're selling a service that's $30,000 versus $3,000, right? Just for a very clear example, very
Yeah,
very different person, right?
for sure.
They're gonna have different needs. They're gonna have different pain points. They're gonna have different desires, right? So like when you get more efficient at getting the right person, right? That's the big shift is
Mm.
becoming efficient at getting the right person in the business that you can look at the lifetime value growth over time. So like whatever the AOV is on day one, say it's $100, right? If yours is like over the next year, you get them up to $500 in lifetime value, and your customers or your competitors are only getting up to 200, you have a massive advantage. And there's a lot, and lifetime value is actually the next lever. So we'll just kind of jump into that one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, so that one is a lot. These are all tied together. Like they're all levers that when you pull one, all the other ones, it's like a big domino, like a
For
domino
sure.
ring
Yep.
almost. Yeah, like whatever one you hit, it knocks all the other ones. And so lifetime value is the next one. That is one of my favorites. And
Mine too.
if I had to pick like two of them out of all the levers, it's kind of really depends on the business, but the ones that I like are contribution margin and lifetime value because if you nail both of those, you can just afford such a bigger cost to acquire a customer. You can afford to spend so much more than
Right.
your competitors when you have those dialed in. And that's pretty much like where we are with where we are like in the market for most businesses online today. It's just going up and up and up. All the costs to acquire customers are going up every year. Conversions are
Right.
going down every year. Average order values are going down every year. Like so all the economics are working against everyone. So if you don't have all these dialed in, it's going to be really hard over the next couple of years to continue to grow, especially with AI now. Like, you know, all the metrics are going down. It's making it harder, and AI, like, it's starting to get there. I thought ChatGPT 5 was going to be a bigger thing than it is, but it's starting to get there, and it certainly has increased productivity. I mean, we're nowhere near like AGI or where like even most of the AI claims at these days, but it certainly is increasing productivity. But over the next couple of years, when we're getting to everyone is increasing their productivity by 3, 4, 10 times, we're all going to have the same marketing messages. Everyone's going to funnel hack everyone every day. So it's like you need all these
Yeah.
levers behind the scenes so that your competitors don't know what you're doing, because everyone,
Right.
I mean, most funnel hackers are so lazy. They'll look like just at your sales letter. Like the amount of people who actually go through your whole funnel and buy everything is like, I mean, they probably they click no on each upsell. So if you have all these things in the back end, your competitors don't know how you're able to spend $400 on a new customer when they can only spend 100, right? So that's like why all this stuff's
Hmm.
so important.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the hidden economics that they can't see. Um,
Yeah. Let me
so
let me jump in for
yep,
a recap for the audience, just because I know you're getting super technical
yep,
fast, and I like to get into the weeds, but I just want to make sure we don't lose anybody in the
yeah,
process. So what we're talking about here, people, is the key 5 levers to essentially scale your business. And contribution margin, right? Really getting clarity there on what is your revenue and then your variable costs. Then acquisition efficiency, like how much does it cost you to acquire a customer, right? And then your customer lifetime value. So what does your customer spend with you over the life cycle of them doing business with you?
mm, yep,
These are some very key metrics that every business should know if you really want to play at the highest level and make data driven decisions.
yep,
Let's hit on the last 2 levers.
yep, yep. So the next one is payback velocity, or cash velocity. I think I like cash velocity better than payback velocity, because
Mm.
it's pretty much this is essentially how money flows through your business, right? When a dollar comes in, how long does it take to do the cycle in your business to come back to you in terms of profit, right? So, um, let's just say that $100 comes in, and then you have to deliver that service, right? Let's say it costs you $50 to acquire the customer. You're getting 100, so now you're down to 50. And then you have $25 in variable costs. You have $25 in fixed costs. So now day one you're at break even, right? But those people are on. So like most people would be like, oh, my payback period or my cash velocity, whatever term you want to give it, would be day one. Like I'm break even on day one. However, and I actually did this with a really big company, and it was messing up their metrics pretty bad. How this works, right? Let's just say that half of those customers are on payment plans, and it's like a 6-month payment plan or something like that. Well, you're not actually getting the money day one. If you're doing on an accrual accounting, then the P&L is going to show that. But then if you switch it to cash, you're going to see that it takes a long time to get that money because obviously they're on payment plans, right? So you have to factor that in too. And then if you're in like a service business, you're looking at like, accounts receivable and accounts payable and, invoicing and, what the net terms are and that sort of stuff. We won't get into all the weeds on that. But it's really just like this one is just looking at when you spend a dollar, it goes out your door. How long does that dollar on a net basis, not on revenue, again, coming back to that, not revenue, on a net basis after all the fees are taken out, once you actually collect that cash, how long is that cycle, right? And the importance of that metric is if it takes you, let's just say 6 months, right, to get that cash back, just for a kind of very extreme example, let's say it takes 6 months to get that cash, and you have $100,000 that you've invested in ads. Well, now you can only recycle that cash twice in a year, right? So you can basically make 200 back, right? If you take that 6 months and you put it to 1 month, well, now you recycle that cash 12 times throughout the year, right? So you can imagine how many more customers. I'm not going to be able to do the math in my head, but it's a lot more customers, right? I guess instead of being able to put that 100 into 200, now it becomes 1,200. So it's like a 6x. It's 6x multiple. And then if you add that onto the other levers, and it's 10% increase here, 10% increase here, 10% increase here, it adds up into like the hundreds of percent. And again, in profit that you generate, not revenue, profit, and that's why they're so powerful, right? So that's cash velocity, and then the last one is operational scalability, right? So there's kind of two. This one kind of splits both ways, two ways. The first side is how scalable your delivery is, right? On the operational side, how complex it is. If you double the amount of customers, how many more employees do you need to deliver that product or that service, right? That sort of thing. So you always want that, especially again, this crowd wants that to be very simple. We don't want to be dragged in the weeds on delivery, that sort of thing. In terms of how it actually comes back to you on the profit side of things, that's really the difference between your fixed costs and your contribution margin, right? So it's looking at, if you double, we'll just say again, double customers, right, and you double your revenue, what percent do your expenses go up? Do they go up 10% and you have like a 10 to 1 ratio, or they go up 80%, in which you're only you're doubling your revenue, but your profit's only going up 20%. And that's a really big, a lot of that's caused by really high fixed costs. And man, the amount of bloat that I see in companies, I get behind the scenes in a lot of companies. The amount of bloat that most people have is unreal. I'm talking to someone right now. And I won't even give away I won't even say the industry or anything like that, so no one has any idea who it is. But they're doing almost 4 million, it's like high 3 million in revenue, and they have basically their labor costs, right? Their labor to revenue ratio is about 33%. In their industry, it should be about 15%, right? So they're very, very, very bloated on labor. And I did the math, and pretty much if we got that down just to the baseline, not even like a grand slam, but just like where it should be, they would almost triple their profit. Just that one single change would almost triple
Wow.
their profit just by focusing on that one single thing. No more revenue, no better marketing, not even getting into like, improving contribution margin or LTV or any of that stuff. Just looking at that one single constraint can triple there. And I'm actually going to be starting to work with them. So that's one of the things we'll do. But we haven't yet. But it was just something. I was just like 3 days ago that I looked at that P&L, and as I was going through it, it just stood out to me. It's crazy because I see that over and over and over and over. It's
Mm.
just, so it's really important to be on top of your numbers and to really understand how these levers all interact and how they
Oh yeah.
change your profit, right? Because they're very, very high leverage levers.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, just to recap, the last two was cash velocity, which is like how long is that cycle when a dollar comes in till you actually get to realize it as profit, right?
Yep.
And then the operational scalability, which is how complex is is the actual delivery of your product or service. I think knowing again these five key metrics: contribution margin, acquisition efficiency, customer lifetime value, cash velocity, and operational scalability, these are the difference between success and failure,
It
between
is.
scale and burnout, right? This is why it's so important when you're talking about happy hustling your dream reality as an entrepreneur. You got to know your numbers. And again, full transparency for me, I would much rather just be the big vision guy, but I've had to train myself to
Mm,
look at the numbers, meet with my bookkeeper, meet with my accountant, meet with my tax strategist, meet with the team to
yep.
really get clear on this stuff. And I'm definitely don't claim to be the guru at any of this shit, but it's just, it's knowing the importance of it, I think, is
Yeah.
the first awareness piece that everyone hopefully hearing this is like, damn, maybe I'm not as clear on these core pieces,
Right.
or maybe I'm a newer entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur and I don't know any of these. I need to educate myself further.
Right.
So really great points there, man. You do talk a lot about these key levers, but you've also built and sold a multi-million-dollar company of your own, and you've led 100+ employees in the process. What's the biggest invisible wall that you have seen entrepreneurs slam into, and how do you actually break through it?
Yeah, it's most people most people kind of get to the point where they start the business, they're excited, they get momentum, and then they keep hitting walls, and it's almost like not even one specific wall, but it's like everyone has their own constraint, right? And
Yeah.
and it's like, in one person it might be like the one I just talked about. They clearly have a constraint. They're over labored, right? And that having that, right, is dropping their margins, so they have to pay less to acquire customers, which means that they can't get customers, right?
Right.
Or in their case, they do a lot more like free stuff, right? Like a lot more organic, social, like that sort of thing, because they can't afford to, to pay a lot of money in paid ads and that sort of thing, right? So that's like basically when one of the levers is off, it creates the constraint. So it's really about coming back and figuring out which of these levers is causing your constraint, and looking at like, um, I always say people, like, when they're trying to figure out what their constraint is, right? It's like, well, just ask yourself a question: what pisses you off every day about your business, right? And it's like,
Mm.
oh God, we have so many people, it's so chaotic. There's confusion. That was actually another client that I was working with. Is I went in and like the entire operational team had no idea what they were supposed to be doing, what they were being measured on, what success in their role looked like. They didn't have
Mm.
the vision of the company. They didn't know, the ops didn't know what marketing was doing. Marketing didn't know what ops was doing. Right. So like in their case, it's like the invisible wall basically they were hitting was like culture, essentially, right? So it's like if you just look at what you keep slamming against, it's going to push you back to
Mm.
to one of these levers. So for example, so many people that I know, their biggest constraint is they can't, with rising ad costs and everything, like they're basically paying out as much as they possibly can to acquire customers without losing a ton of money and that sort of thing. So their constraint is how much they can pay to afford a customer. So it's like, okay,
Mm.
well, the only way that you can then fix that is you have to get really, really good at like conversion rate optimization, or hiring a $30,000 copywriter to rewrite your funnels and all that kind of stuff. Or you can just look at where you're weak with one of those levers and fix it that way, right? So in this case, it would be either I'd be looking at probably either contribution margin, and if that was good, I'd be looking at lifetime value, which lifetime value is, for most people, that's like 70% of the time I'm looking there, because most people, they get someone in the door, oh, I have a high AOV, and then it's just like absolute nothing, crickets.
All right, my happy hustlers out there. Imagine a set of headphones that don't just play music, cancel noise, and take calls, but also optimize your brain and focus in the process. Well, that is what Neurable AI is all about. And these specific neurotech powered headphones, which track your brain waves in real time using these EEG sensors to help you improve focus, flow, and mental recovery. See, with Neurable's AI-driven insights through their app platform, you can actually get personalized feedback on when you're in deep focus, when you're drifting off track, and when you need to take a brain break. That way you can lock in longer, work smarter, and reduce cognitive fatigue. And the best part is you get the hookup for being a part of the Happy Hustle Tribe. You can save $100 by going to Neurable.com and using code HAPPY to save. I'll tell you what, they're made for high performers who are out there happy hustling a life that they love, both personally and professionally. And they fit with our brand mission, which is to avoid burnout and achieve that blissful balance. So I'm super stoked about this new tech that's out there, and Neurable being a partner of ours. And I hope that you give them a go, especially if you're in the market for a new headphone. These are how you can ultimately increase your productivity and avoid burnout. If your brand doesn't look legit, people aren't going to treat it like it is. So whether you're building a biz from scratch or you're leveling up your current brand, 99 Designs by Vista is the ultimate creative platform for you to bring your vision to life. From logos design to app design to packaging to book covers, you name it, 99 Designs connects you with top freelance designers from around the world to create custom, memorable designs you love. We have personally at the Happy Hustle used them for book cover designs, logos, and now currently we're running a design contest for our swag shipping box. So that way, when you get a package from us, everything's branded and it looks super professional and on point. Now, you have two different ways that you can work with them. And basically, it's simple. You run a contest, let the global design community submit ideas, and then you pick the best one, or you work one-on-one with the designer who gets your vibe from start to finish. And because you're a part of the Happy Hustle Tribe, you get an exclusive $25 off your first design contest. All you gotta do is just go to 99designs.com/happy and then claim your discount, and then watch your brand glow up, my friend. Do yourself a favor and just don't DIY your design. Let the pros at 99 Design by Vista help your brand thrive.
And so you have to have a customer journey. You have to be taking people,
Right.
wherever they start with you should not be where they finish. That should be like the absolute bare bones minimum of the experience, their experience they're going to have with you. If they're coming in to solve whatever, like we'll just get like everyone's entrepreneurs, right? So it's like you come in to solve a profit problem, and it's like, okay, cool, let's solve that problem. Well, now you have more profit. Now let's what's the next thing in the journey, whether that's like, okay, now let's go back and grow revenue at the same profit level, or oh cool, now we can afford more employees because I'm the CEO, but I've been writing copy for the last 5 years, or so it's kind of you just look through and it's like, what's driving you crazy about your business? And that usually, like, why is this driving me crazy? What's the constraint here? What's going wrong? What roadblock am I hitting? And that generally will kind of guide you to the answer of what's weak, and then you just fix that part that's weak, the constraint, and then the ceiling is gone. And then of course you grow, and then you hit a new one, and then you figure, it's just cycle repeats itself over and over. You go from 500 grand to $1 million, and then you hit another one, and then you unblock it, and then you go to 2 million, you unblock it, you go to 5. I mean, it goes on and on and on. I'm sure there's, in every business, there's constraints, because otherwise
Mhm.
you'd be trillions and trillions of dollars and you'd own the world, right? So, so there's always a constraint. It's just how big the constraints are, you know?
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's the key piece to the puzzle is figuring out what's holding you back. And you mentioned AOV, just for clarity for people who don't know, average order value, right? So when you have someone spend money with you, how much on average is that?
Yep.
Um, and again, going back to LTV, customer lifetime value, you know, when you think about it, like even just take our business for example, we have repeat mastermind um you know repeat masterminds throughout the year that guys will attend, so they'll
Hmm.
sign up for one, but then they'll come on another one and then another one, and typically we see them one customer will come on at least three masterminds as a
Yep.
part of our program, and then a portion of those people will upsell to our community, our recurring membership community.
Hmm.
Portion of those people will then upgrade to our B2B SaaS program, which is our Happy Hustle company certified, happiness program that
Yep.
increases employee engagement and decreases churn. So it's taking people through, like you said, this life cycle.
Hmm.
We also have a book funnel and, our free content and stuff like that for the lower end, you know, offers, will you? But for the most part, our stuff is higher ticket and it is more targeted to a very specific person.
Hmm.
But right now, just to give you a little look under the hood, Jeremy, like what we're running into as a constraint is we ran out of spots to sell in masterminds. And I
Yeah. So
was like,
you're on
shit.
the operational constraint, which is a great constraint, by the way.
Yeah. So, I mean, our ROAS for our ads, we've never really run ads. Last summer, just we started for the first like two summer or 2 months of it. And then we were crushing it last summer. So then we did again this summer. This summer, our ads got 8.6 ROAS.
Nice.
And apparently it's pretty decent for, and that's just to the front end offer. But again, the constraint for us was, well, we just didn't have any more spots to sell people. So we had tons of
Yep.
bookings on the calendar for application calls, but nothing else to give them. So I
Hmm.
was like, oh shit,
Right.
this is a
Yeah.
problem. We need to figure
Right.
this
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
So at any level, there's different problems that you have to sell or to solve in order to
Hmm.
move on to the next level. So it's interesting to put it into these key terms and then you can really identify where you're
Yeah.
at. So very interesting stuff. Do you have a way in which you look at the overall strategy, how you go through with a new entrepreneur and how you recommend they look at their business? Let's say they're listening to this right now. They're like, all right, I
Hmm.
want to go through and I want to understand the strategy that Jeremy's talking about. Is there an order of operations when you go through to dissect and do that audit that you would recommend?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'll be honest. I'm trying to figure out some sort of templatized way to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm actually in the process of building. I have no idea when it's going to be released or if it ever will, if I could ever figure it out. Because the problem that I have with this is it's so contextual, right? It's going to
Yeah.
depend on business model. It's going to depend on market cycles. It's going to depend on the business size, right? Because a $200,000 business is significantly different than a 2 million, so much different than a 20 million, right? So there's so many layers to that. So I'm trying. I don't have like a step one, do this, step two, do this.
Okay.
It's more of just
You got to build it.
yeah. So I'm in the process of building that now and trying to
Yeah.
work through it. And what are the variables? What are the exceptions? Break it down by industry. Like it's a really complex thing to figure out because right now, like it's just 20 years of experience. I look at something like the example that I gave earlier of the high
Yeah.
labor. I knew very little about that business, and I spotted her constraint just by looking at the P&L in about 2.5 minutes, right?
Mm,
Because I've seen so much that it's your brain picks it up, right? There's a pattern, and your
right.
brain picks it up. I realize that's not super helpful for, for listening to this. So it's really, I mean, the best piece of advice that I would give, probably 6 months from now, I'll be able to say, do this, do this, do this. Um, in general, it really comes down to understanding those 5 levers, really. And because when you understand them, then it becomes clear, right? So if you figure out your contribution margin and say it's 60% or whatever, and then you look up like a chat GPT, hey, I own X company in X industry. What's like a good benchmark contribution margin that I should have? And it says 60. You're like, cool, that's not a constraint, right? And then you do the same thing with lifetime value, and you say, hey, I have a free book funnel, and people spend $10 for the book, and then my average order value on day one is $30, right? And then my lifetime value over the next whatever, just say 90 days is $50, right? Well, you can look at them and just get benchmarks, and if you learn that that what you should have is like a $70 AOV, and then that should go up to 300 in the first 3 months or whatever it is, then you're like, oh wow, okay, now I know that's the constraint. I need to work on that. A lot of times it's gut feel, right? Like, so for you, like, it's so obvious that it's the operational constraint. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes it just smacks you in the face, and I love those moments. Other times it takes some digging. It's, but it really comes down, like, that's why I spent a lot of time figuring out, like, dissecting what are the things that actually matter. And it's like, that's why I came up with these 5 levers, because it, like, I'm still yet to find anything that doesn't fit under there, right? And it's just, it gives you such a clear, like, oh my God, that's it, right? And if you fix that, like, I don't know what your numbers are, all that, but like, say it was whatever, $300,000 a year, whatever, that you generate from that service, and you had twice the amount of people, let's just say you double your operational capability. Well, boom, you just added 300 grand, right? And then if you looked at the LTV of that, and then you looked at what you're paying to acquire customers, you're probably like, oh my God, I'm spending $100 to acquire a customer. They're worth 1,500 over the first, 90 days. You can raise your cost to acquire customers so much, and get way more volume, right? But knowing you're getting that LTV and you do the numbers, you'll make way, way, way more profit at the end of the day, right? And so it really just comes down, and then of course you'll run into another constraint. Then it's like, I opened up and I doubled my capacity for that service, and so now I've doubled the customers, so now I hit the ceiling again, so then it's like, okay, well, in your case, what I would be saying is, okay, people are paying X for this. Who can I pull out of that to get to pay 4 times more, right? And so going up a level. I learned that from I think it was Dan Kennedy. I'm going back probably 15 years probably. But it always just stuck with me, of like, whenever you have whatever it is, say a $10,000 product or service, whatever it is, and you have people paying that, right? How many more of those would pay 25,000 or 50,000, right? And it's like, you just keep more and more value for a higher and higher price until no one is left that will pay it, right? In one of the business that I was consulting with a couple months ago, they had one that was 36,000, and we were talking about doing one level at 250, right? 250,000. Well, it was going to be like the 36,000, and then I think it was then 100, and then 250, and then 1,000,000, right? And it's like, for when you're getting into that level, you have to understand what's important to people, because at that level, if someone's paying you $100,000 or $500,000 or $1,000,000, whatever it is, in this space, at least, it's not for education, it's not for information, right? It's either for like implementation. Sometimes it's just like the star factor, right?
The proximity.
Yeah, right. Like, so people will pay a lot of money for proximity. I personally don't care. Like, a Hollywood celebrity could walk in my door, I'd be like, oh, hey man, like, how are you? Like, that doesn't do anything for me, but for a lot of people it does. I mean, people would kill to have a dinner with
Yeah.
Richard Branson, right? Everyone probably on
Yeah.
here loves him, right? I don't know how you don't.
Yeah.
And I would too, but it would be more for the business education, not like the, oh my God, you're Richard Branson sort of thing. Um,
Right. Right.
and so you basically just, I know it's a very long-winded way of saying like kind of get to know your numbers better, and then
Yeah.
learn to fish,
Yeah.
but yeah, I am working on something with that, and it's gonna probably have to be AI based, I think, because there's so many variables. But I have something in the works that I'm
Nice.
working on. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to diving into it once you get it templatized and systematized so we can
yeah,
leverage it.
right.
One thing that also attracts me to you, Jeremy, just I know we've been bros for a long time. I don't even know how we first met, actually. I was trying to figure that out. Do you remember how we first met? Was it
I
Craig
Yeah, I think
and
it was
Danette?
Craig. I think it was
Yeah.
Craig Net.
Yeah.
And we had I had the one like camping. Yeah, I forget what you call
Oh,
it,
yeah, 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 yeah. Yep.
the retreat, whatever. We
I
were
know.
supposed to go on that, but then that's when you got sick, and
Yeah.
canceled. Yeah, but I do need
I
to.
know.
I do want to go out there so bad.
We got to
I
get you out on one of these.
Yeah, I can't. My
Yeah.
my son has a lot of issues that we're dealing with right now, so I'm like not even traveling. But once that's all
Yeah.
past us, that's it's like one of the top things on my plate.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. Well, speaking of being a family man, one of the things I like to dive into is happy hustle hacks for a couple different areas of your life.
Yeah,
Before we get into all that good stuff, I mean, you largely have this beautifully balanced life, in these 10 different areas, these 10 alignments, our soul mapping system. How
mhm.
do you keep it all together? How do you systematically harmonize that ambition and well-being?
Yeah. So, um, I would say honestly, the number one reason for that is because I made a choice to do it, right?
Mm,
Beyond any hacks and beyond any strategies and all, journals or anything
yeah.
like that, you just got to make the decision that you're going to do it, right? So many people are like, oh, you can't have a successful business and a successful marriage and be healthy and have great relationship with your kid and have a great social life and yada yada yada. And it's like, okay, well, I do, so why can't you?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I always look at that. That's anytime someone says something's possible, I always say, is there one person on planet Earth that has achieved it? And if that answer is yes, it's not impossible, right? There's
Right.
no reason that you can't do it too. So that the mindset
Amen.
is number one. It's the mindset.
Agreed.
After that, I actually track everything. I have them all written down, and every year I go and I have like each. It's just in a Google document, just a page, and it's basically what's my current reality, right? So like each of them, health, finances, business, relationship, yada yada yada.
Mhm.
Pretty much where am I now? Where do I want to be? And
Mm.
what's the gap? What do I need to do to close that gap?
Yep.
Right. So action items to close the gap. I that's my secret, honestly, is I
Yeah.
just track them and I have that document. I've been doing it now for probably 7 or 8 years. In fact, it was actually Craig that got me onto that. Um,
Nice.
and so that actually any business that I'm involved in, whether it's my own or clients or whatever, I give that exercise to them because it just changed my life so much. But it's really just that simple. You mark down all the like each area, and then it's where am I now? Where do I want to be? And what do I have to do to close the gap? That's it. You
Love
know.
it.
So yeah,
That's it.
simplicity, man.
What you
Love
measure
simplicity.
you what well, just to your point, what you measure you can manage,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
why we manage and measure the 10 different areas of life, our 10 alignment system. That's
Mhm.
been profound for me in my trajectory. And it's very similar to what you do. So I love that. That's just very intentional in your life. I know people are probably like, all right, this guy's a smart dude. I need to explore his content, dive deeper, maybe work with you directly. Talk to us about where people can go to learn more about you, Jeremy, and even potentially work together with you.
Yep. Yeah, so I have companies called Scale Advisors. Website is scaleadvisors.com. I'm we have all sorts of stuff there. We have free training. I have my own podcast called Scalable Growth. There's we have products that are like pretty much all the products and programs we have are all around these 5 levers, right? How do you increase those? Goes way in depth, all sorts of stuff. But there's products, programs, services, in terms of like I do audits where I come in and I do like a full, like very, very deep audit of people's businesses that generally they want to cry after they see them because it's pretty much I'm pretty much coming in and like, hey, what are all the things wrong with your business? But it's you have to know those things in order to
Yeah.
progress, right? You can't be flying blind. So that's pretty much my job, is just to point out all the things that are wrong, prioritize them, put like, I have like a whole like a weighting system in terms of like which ones to do first and second and all that sort of thing. And then there's like, done with you, like consulting stuff where I'm kind of just like guiding you like an advisor, right? Hence scale advisors. And then we also do done for you, where I actually come in and it's like, hey, we did the audit. Here are all the things that are wrong. Here are the top, whatever, 5, 3, 10 things, whatever it is that we have to do. And then I can actually, I've written so many pieces of copy in my life. I mean, oh my God, I've done 5 different offers that I know of that were 8-figure offers. Most of those within like 8-figure per year.
Mm.
And I think there's several more that I haven't actually like 100% confirmed that they are, but I'd say there's probably double that probably did, but I can't really say that because I don't know. And a whole bunch of 7 figures. So like, there's copies, I mean, there's all sorts. I even have, if people need designers, developers, like the whole kit and caboodle, but yeah, so there's something there for everyone. We have all sorts of free stuff. If you're earlier in the business, get on the free stuff. There's so much training in there to help you get to be a bigger business, right?
Yeah.
If you already have some traction and you need help, or you just don't like to implement stuff, that's a lot of my clients. I mean, they're doing the CEO thing. They either they have a team or like the team's already. I've worked with a bunch of companies that their team was already like, they had a marketing team, whatever, copywriters, but they already had all their own projects. And it's like, okay, let them keep doing what they're doing. I'll come in and just focus on like new profit centers. So it kind of works out well. But yeah, I mean, if it landed with you, if you like the idea of kind of what I'm teaching, I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. I'm writing a book on all this, also called Scalable Growth. That's turning out to be much, much more of a pain in the ass than I ever thought possible.
I told you. Books are a labor of love, man.
Oh, baby, it's if you're doing them right. I see these people,
exactly.
that are pushing AI stuff, and it's like, I just wrote a book in 30 minutes, and I'm like, okay, but it's absolute trash. Like, it's I could too, and I did using Manus. I wrote like a 50 or 200 what was it, 475 page book. It took like 10 minutes, but then I read it and I'm like, this is complete garbage. No one's gonna read this. It didn't make sense. The structure was wrong. It was very surface level. Writing a book it's a massive labor of love, man. It
sure is.
But it's
I'm glad you're doing it though.
Yeah. And it's my focus on that. It's about all these levers, but I'm really trying to focus on because, as you can see, it can be pretty complex learning all this stuff. I've done so much for so long that it's like, and I've actually focused on learning these things. So it's easy for me. It comes naturally for me. I'm a math guy, right? It came naturally to my, in the way my brain works, but it doesn't for a lot of people. They have different, they're more creative. They're not as analytical, right? So they'd smoke me on the creative stuff, but like the math doesn't quite make sense. So I'm really trying to make it simple and very digestible. So anyway, so there's a lot there. Again, that's
scaleadvisors.com. Right?
Yep.
That's a spot. Scaleadvisors.com. We'll link that up in the show notes, and I highly recommend everyone dive in at some level, at least the free content there, and then check out his podcast, his book coming out soon. And if you do want to do that audit or work one-on-one, it's all there. So awesome, Jeremy. All right, I'm gonna hit you with some of these happy hustle hack questions in conjunction with the rapid fire round. So this is essentially where I just ask you random things and then you answer first thing that comes to mind. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, let's do this. Favorite food? Go.
Pizza.
Favorite movie?
Well, that's a hard one. Uh, nothing's coming to mind. I'm just gonna say something weird and funny. Nothing's popping in my head. I
Okay.
will get favorite
Favorite book.
TV show. How about I do favorite TV shows? The Office.
Let's go. Oh yeah, that's a good one. Favorite book.
Favorite book. Probably Rich Dad Poor Dad, because that was the first book that I ever read that changed my mindset. Like
Mm,
kind of going into entrepreneurship. It wasn't the
yeah.
most impactful in terms of like I read it and
Yeah.
then I did this, but it was just that was the book that like it just switched my mindset. And I went from
Yeah.
being I was in school to be an elementary school teacher, and I stopped that and I started a business and never looked back since.
Heck yeah. Love it. What's your spirit animal?
Fox.
Nice. Best business advice.
Um, Honestly, stop thinking about revenue and focus all your time on profit.
Mm,
And
well
actually,
said.
I would say in the most efficient way possible. I'll add that
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
so many people waste so much time. It's insane.
Mm. Happy hustle hack for your health. Something you do uniquely, Jeremy.
Fasting.
Nice. Happy hustle hack for your relationship.
I'll say two things if that's okay.
Yeah, go.
One is I'm talking to the guys here, but obviously it's in reverse for for women, or I'll just say spouse. Um, let me think of the best way to say it. Treat your spouse like basically think of all the ways. I'm not saying it very clearly. Challenge yourself to like to basically give your spouse everything, right? So I am constantly in my brain thinking, how do I make her happy? Right?
Mm,
Constantly all day. If I see dishes there, bam, I do. Like it's one of the big things for me is she would ask me to do something and I'd say, yeah, I got it. And then of course
yeah.
didn't do it. So probably 5 years ago, I switched that to if she asks me something, I do it right then. That single thing alone, guys, if you do that, it will absolutely
Yeah.
change your and I say guys
Yeah.
because generally that's a male problem.
Yeah,
uh,
for sure.
and
Love that.
then the second part would be put a lot of emphasis on sex. Would be the second thing
Okay.
because it's just there's something about it with the hormones, with the way you connect. It
Oh yeah.
just it's a taboo thing. But like we've done a lot of experiments with it and like try more or less whatever. And it's just there's something about it that when it's consistent, you just feel closer to each other.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. Definitely true. Happy hustle hack for your money. Something uniquely, Jeremy, that you do to save, spend, or invest wisely.
I would say I put a lot of emphasis on tax savings.
Mm,
It's such an overlooked thing. But it's I mean, depending on what you make, say 25 to 40% of every dollar that comes in. It's almost like look at the profit in your business. Well,
yeah.
taxes are kind of it's like the profit in your personal life, right? If you can reduce
Yeah.
those, it just goes straight to your bank account. And it's something that shocking amount of people don't put effort into.
So true.
And it's I mean I've saved so much money on taxes and like all legal stuff and that sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
There's so many things out there that people don't realize that you can do,
So true. Yeah.
even
Yeah.
investments. I'm actually looking at one tomorrow that it's a 5-to-1 return on tax savings. So for every like you put in 100 grand and you save 500,000 on in taxes, like it reduces your taxable income by
Yeah.
500 grand. So it's like
Yep.
and nobody researches that stuff, you know.
Yeah. It's
So yeah,
true.
so
It's
that
true.
would be the big one.
Love it. And then happy hustle hack for your spirituality. Something you do uniquely, Jeremy, to connect to a higher power.
Oh, I do a lot of things. I would say if I had to pick one, um, I would say for me, anyone who's I don't even know if I want to say it, but I will. Uh, so anyone who's, I believe everyone should have their own beliefs, right? I
Yeah.
don't believe there's like a dude with a beard sitting in the clouds, right? I don't believe in that thing. I believe more along the lines of we are all one. We are all God. We all come from the same thing, right? And so for me, it's coming back to that, right?
Yeah.
If I'm mad at someone, I bring myself, I ground myself with that, which to me is truth, right? And it's just okay. Who cares then? They're just living out their karma in this life. So am I. Let's just go on about our days, Um,
Well
and then
said.
I would say the second thing is forgiveness. Just to put another one in there.
Yeah.
I've gone through a lot of forgiveness, you know, techniques, I guess, whatever in my life, and the way that it opens you up spiritually is really hard to understand until you go through it.
Mm.
That was one of the biggest unlocks for me was learning, like, and I mean like true 100% forgiveness, not like oh yeah, I forgive him, but I never want to see
Yeah.
him again or talk to. It's like, I mean, absolutely true, like it was someone you hate and you forgave them and you can go have a beer with them, like that level of forgiveness. And
Yeah.
just realize that they just are who they are. You are who you are. You don't necessarily have to like them to forgive them,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah. So true.
I've gone, a lot of things, but one in particular was someone that I could barely even like look at, and now I can legitimately say I love you to them. You know,
Oh,
uh,
that's
yeah,
awesome,
yeah,
man.
yeah. It's so
Well,
those two together and they're kind of combined. You know, it's kind of
nice.
one and the same now.
I totally hear you, man, and echo the same sentiment. All right, finishing up the rapid fire round with two more.
Okay,
What are three things you're most grateful for?
living, my family, and let's see. I would say my curiosity is popping in my head, so I'll go with that.
Yeah.
Just the like, it's everyone's born with strengths and weaknesses and that sort of thing. I was not blessed with many things. I grew up poor, bad genes. Like, I was always the fat kid growing up. The little pudgy kid. Like, didn't get the skinny genes, anything like that. But I did get a curiosity for life, and I really, really, really love that.
Hmm.
And so I'm super grateful for that.
Heck yeah. Love it, man. And then final question here for the rapid fire round. If you had a billboard for the world to see with your last piece of content on there, what's that billboard read?
Mm. I would probably put love everyone because they are you.
Mm. Crush that rapid fire round, man. And Jeremy, yeah, it wasn't as rapid as the
Yeah,
rapid
sorry, I tend to get a
dictates,
little
but it was
long-winded.
still awesome insight, man. And yeah, man, I just want to take a moment, Jeremy, to acknowledge you for sharing your love, your light, your wisdom, your internet marketing practices, your 5 levers to scale your business, as well as your depth and love. I feel like you have both sides of the coin, the personal and the professional, figured out largely. And obviously, we all have, our shit, but nonetheless, I feel like you are happy hustling in both, man. And it really is awesome to rock the mic with you and to hear and learn from you and your wisdom. So thank you again for doing that.
Yeah. And it was an honor being on here. I hope everyone, I know I get a little long winded sometimes. So hopefully everyone got some value from this, and and just bring it back to those 5 levers, man. I cannot emphasize that enough. Just bring it back to that,
Yep.
learn it, get a deep understanding of those things, and it'll transform your life like nothing else you'll ever do. So yeah,
Hmm.
man, it was super fun being on here. It was
Yeah.
awesome to see you as always. You know,
Yeah.
and yeah, thanks again.
Of course, man. And scaleadvisors.com. We'll link that up in the show notes. Do you have a place where you're on social media too, hanging out more than like any of the platforms you're more regularly using?
Yeah, I don't do a lot right now. I would say probably the best one is look on YouTube. So just like,
Okay.
/ scale advisors. Yeah. I would say
Okay.
that's probably the best one. But I'll also have all the links to everything. Like, if you just scroll like on the social section of the website in the footer, it'll
Cool.
all the links will be on there. So whatever one you prefer. I'm a podcast and email guy. Those are my big things.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to get it more into YouTube, just because it's good to see people's faces. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for
It
sure.
really is. You get to see, like, I'm a weird guy. Like, it's like, it's fun just kind of being me. And, I've kind of gotten
Yeah,
past the whole, like, try to be who people like expect or whatever.
yeah.
I am who I
Just
am.
be unapologetically
If
you,
you
man.
like it,
That's
you
the
do it. If
best.
you don't, that's fine too.
That's the best policy, man. Love it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Last question that I ask all my guests, and it is, what does happy hustling mean to you?
It means to live life the way that you want to live it.
Mm.
Whatever that is for you, you know. Yeah, just live it how you want to live it. That's do it your way, man. You get one, and even if you believe in reincarnation, you only remember one. So
Yeah, yeah. There you go. There you go,
uh
man. Well
so yeah,
said.
do it how you want it.
I love that, man. Awesome. Mic drop. Jeremy Reeves, y'all. Thank you for watching and listening. We are out. Peace and love, everybody.